Can we talk about tokens a little bit? Generally speaking, there's been a meteoric rise of a bunch of different tokens. We could just talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum as examples. Bitcoin, I think, crossed $60,000 in value. What are your thoughts in general on this rise? What's the future of Bitcoin? What's the future of Ethereum? There's the total value locked metric that I think generalizes the different kind of value of these tokens. What does the future value and impact of cryptocurrency look like if we look through the lens of these tokens?
I think valuing all these tokens and determining that isn't something I'm particularly great at. I haven't spent a lot of time on that. I've spent the vast majority of my time on building these systems and architecting them and getting them to fruition and getting them to a place where they operate properly on both the technical and the cryptoeconomic and in every other sense. I think with Bitcoin, there is a certain conception of non-governmental fiat money that Bitcoin is really the first creator of, right? So there's this very powerful idea called fiat money. It's basically more or less a kind of 40-year experiment. I think on August 15th of this year is maybe, I think, even the 40th anniversary. You know, a government can say, hey, I have a currency and it's worth something, and here it is. In terms of the way that governments have stopped that in the past is if anyone tries to make another fiat currency in their country, they immediately shut it down, right? They immediately say, hey, this is really bad. You've done something really bad. It's time for you to stop. Don't do it anymore. And it stops, right? That's been the history of non-governmental fiat currency. Bitcoin is really, due to its decentralized nature, the first, and possibly in some cases, in many people's minds, still the only true non-governmental fiat currency. Now, how powerful is non-governmental fiat currency? I have no idea, right? This is why it's really as powerful as the ideas that people ascribe to it are, right? So let's say people start saying, like right now people are saying, hey, it's internet money. It's the money of the internet. Okay, great. What's that worth? I don't know. It's probably worth a lot. I have no idea what it's worth. But it's worth as an idea, as a concept, to underpin the fiat money, the let there be aspect of fiat and of Bitcoin. You basically look at it and you say, yeah, internet money. Okay, that could be worth whatever, 60,000, 600,000. Great question, right? There are other versions of the world, right, where people say, there are countries that don't have a good fiat currency, and I see a lot of people using Bitcoin. So Bitcoin isn't internet money, it's countries without a good currency money. So all the countries without a good currency now use Bitcoin, and let there be Bitcoin as this, right? As this conception of Bitcoin. What's the value of that? I don't know. That's a great question. Probably a huge amount of value. Then there's a further conception of Bitcoin as some, digital gold. There's a scarcity dynamic. There's all these other kinds of dynamics. What is a portable version of digital gold with some kind of built-in scarcity worth? Kind of artificially created scarcity. What's that worth? I don't know. That's a great question. I haven't done the analysis on that. Is the point? Might be worth a lot. What is it all worth if all three of these things, flow into the same fiat kind of let there be Bitcoin as these three things conception of Bitcoin? I don't know what that's worth. I also don't know what that's worth, but could be worth a huge amount. So I think it's not. I personally don't think it's super important what I think it's worth or what many other people think it's worth. I don't think that's really that important. I think what's probably important is understanding what the societal conception of Bitcoin is, and how does that societal conception evolve over time. And that, interestingly enough, doesn't just depend on you or me or the people who made Bitcoin or anything else. It actually depends on current events. So, for example, if people suddenly say, I'm more and more worried about fiat currency, I'm more and more worried that governmental fiat, even if it's the most reliable version of that, is not as good as I thought it was. Maybe I should go on the PayPal app and maybe I should get some Bitcoin just in case. What's the world where Bitcoin is a certain percentage of everyone's ownership as a hedge against governmental fiat money not being so good? Haven't done the analysis, but another example, right? Here's this conception. That's the conception. So when I look at Bitcoin, what I see is a lot of these fascinating conceptions of what the fiat let there be value of Bitcoin is. By the way, all of them could be true. Maybe some of them are true, maybe some of them aren't true. And the fascinating thing is that I've seen this conception change, right? So when I started in the Bitcoin space, the conception was micropayments. The cost of Bitcoin is low. We'll have micropayments. Micropayments are wonderful for machine-to-machine transactions. Micropayments are wonderful in the emerging market. And that's fine, right? And that was one conception of Bitcoin as let there be Bitcoin as micropayments platform, right? But then the value rose and things changed. There was enough expansion in certain ways. And now the conception has evolved into this other conception. But at the end of the day, I think governments have a very clear set of steps for directing the public's conception of their fiat, right? They say our fiat is worth this for these reasons. Bitcoin doesn't have that. Bitcoin doesn't have an official Bitcoin spokesperson that goes out and says, the non-governmental money called Bitcoin, the non-governmental fiat money called Bitcoin has value on the basis of this, and this. Right. Here's our fiscal budget. Here's our future plans. Our money will continue to be safe and secure and reliable. And so it's what that hole creates is a hole that we all fill, right? We all basically come to some vague kind of group understanding that Bitcoin is worth this because it is tied to let's say all non-governmental fiat money comes into question. Everybody doubts it, possibly due to inflation. And everybody says, this is nice, but I'd like to keep 10, 20% of my wealth in non-governmental fiat just in case. What are those numbers? I mean, if that happens, I'm guessing you can add a few zeros.
I like how you say, I haven't done the analysis, as if I'm sure a lot of people have done quote unquote analysis, but it's still speculation. Nobody can predict the future, especially when so much of it has to do with a large number of people holding an idea in their mind as to the importance of a particular technology like Bitcoin. There's a lot of excitement about its possibilities, but the number of zeros you add is an open question, and nobody can do a perfect analysis except whoever created this simulation.